of the entire park, all the pennants and souvenirs and t-shirts and things that you could get, mostly centered around the castle. And of course, how did Tinkerbell introduce the anthology series on television every week from the moment it went on the air in 1954? By flying out over the castle and waving her wand. So Sleeping Beauty Castle, even though it was part of Disneyland when it opened in 1955, did not open its actual interior for several years. The film Sleeping Beauty had not been finished yet. It, in fact, had begun production about 1953. So just about the time that Disneyland really got going underway in earnest. So they knew Sleeping Beauty was going to be a major princess and that her castle would be very appropriate to be the centerpiece of Disneyland. However, Sleeping Beauty the film was made in Technorama 70 and it was a huge, huge undertaking. And therefore, it was not finished until 1959. That's the all-time record for consistently in production with no time off on a Disney animated film, 6 years. So, since they didn't want to wait that long to get something going on in the castle, they put the film's production designer, who was Ivan Earl, along with Walt's jack-of-all-trades, Ken Anderson, and the brilliant Disney animator, soon-to-turn Imagineer, Mark Davis. They had their heads put together on a possible walkthrough, a series of beautiful, optically engineered tableaus to make maximum use of a limited space through the use of projections and reflections. So here are some original Ivan Earl concept paintings from the early 1950s of the Sleeping Beauty castle walkthrough, very specifically. These are what I call the good paintings. And then here are the evil paintings. The doors at the bottom are actually not by Ivan Earl. Those were done by Ken Anderson. And happily, those doors, as well as a lot of the original concepts and the multi-dimensional plane art styling, were able to be restored to Sleeping Beauty Castle when its doors reopened again just a few years ago in Fantasyland. But the first opening of the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough happened in April of 1957. And who better, Walt figured, to dedicate the castle, the most prominent castle of a Disney princess, than America's still reigning princess, Shirley Temple. She'd been America's darling in the 30s, and at the time, in the late 50s, she was hosting her own anthology television series, the Shirley Temple Storybooks. So as an actress, she was still very well known. So Shirley Temple and her family helped Walt in opening Sleeping Beauty Castle. And for a while, every guest who journeyed through the castle and saw the story of Sleeping Beauty received, as they exited, a complimentary souvenir guidebook that had not only the Ivan Earl paintings in it, but also a beautiful fold-out of scenes from the film. Now remember though, this was 1957 when the castle opened. They were still 2 years away from actually seeing the motion picture. So that was a really advanced preview, wasn't it, of the content of what the Disney Sleeping Beauty would be. And if you wanted an envelope, you could go get one. And if you wanted an extra copy, it was 25 cents. Who would like an extra copy right now? Well, you could get those envelopes, or you could also get one of the wonderful many Disneyland guidebooks that came out through the years as your souvenir of Disneyland. And you know, Walt wanted people to embrace Disneyland and take it home with them, not just as a nice memory, but as an ongoing part of their lives. He very famously approved making the first Disneyland guidebook far, far above what it would make on its sales price. He said, well, we'll never make our money back on this. He says, well, yes, we will, because people will take this home, they'll look at it, they'll share it with their friends and family, and then they'll all come back to Disneyland based on the strength of it. So the beautiful pictorial guidebooks were a staple of Disneyland, not only for marketing, but also so Walt could send home a great tangible memento of this wonderful place to people. But in each guidebook, as well as in many other publications, Walt made it a point to have a personal greeting to his guests, to his readers, and to put forward the concept of what it was that he was actually trying to accomplish, taking his entertainment savvy that he'd learned from the screen and making it something that people could actually inhabit. And Disneyland, the place, actually, of course, then supplanted Disneyland, the television show, in the public's eye, and that's why the television show got renamed through the years. Many of you grew up with The Wonderful World of Color, The Wonderful World of Disney, or Walt Disney, or Walt Disney Presents, or Disney. There were so many different names of it, but Disneyland has come to really just represent this wonderful place here in Anaheim, California. And as each land of Disneyland, guess what? Disneyland itself also has an official theme song, but this was not something written by Norman Luboff and Marilyn Keith. This was actually written and used for the very first Disney telecast where we've been seeing Walt tonight on the black and white footage. This song had a melody written by Disney staff composer George Bruns, and it was just a melody that was to be used every time Walt spoke about Disneyland, the place, on the TV show to differentiate it from Disneyland, the television series, which at that time had the same name. And lyricist Larry Morey, who'd been back and forth to Disney for many years, as far back as writing lyrics to the songs from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, he put some lyrics to it, and as far as I can tell, the only time those lyrics were ever recorded was yet again on one of those little plastic Yellow Kitty records. So we've taken the liberty of putting the Disneyland theme to the opening footage of the Disneyland show in kind of a little tribute to the concept behind what Disneyland was meant to be and what it actually did become.
Disneyland, Disneyland, shining star in Disneyland. If your heart is a youthful kind, you can see there you'll find castles high in the air. All your dreams are waiting there, and best of all, your dreams come true in Disneyland, Disneyland for you.
So 58 years later, thank you all. 58 years later, thank you all for continuing to help us build, grow, and share Walt Disney's dream of the happiest place on earth. Thank you so much also for joining us for this special historical series. I hope you'll be available next Tuesday when we'll be examining Main Street USA, the heartline of Disneyland, and a few surprises as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.